Hello, welcome back to Nick Lenges Comic Corner, Classics X Non-Classics. This episode, which is episode number 7 for Teen Titans Classics, New Teen Titans Era, and covering issues 13 to 18. First up, issue 13, where we see on the cover, this actually does happen, that Robot Man is found tied to a wall with a sign that says, "Trespassers will be executed." And he is found. Well, he's not found by Kid Flash. He's found by Cyborg. Pretty much most of the male Teen Titans do find him. So, now begins the quest for the killers of the legendary Doom Patrol. I'll explain more about what happened to them at the end. First issue opens up with some fighting, with Donna Troy doing some vigilante work, so just catching some criminals. And this goes on for a few pages, and of course she captures them, and of course she just wanted to hit something. Because yeah, basically, like the cops have been after this game for a while, and of course Terry's like, yeah, he's got sisters, and of course he's quite gentleman-ish, basically not seeing her get changed, like turning his back. This by effect, I'm sure he may have already seen Donna without her clothes on anyway, so yeah. And they go on a date, and it's a nice little date, and of course they kind of end the page with her, like, she wants to go back to Paradise Island, like, okay, fine. And of course they kiss, and unlike in the previous issue where Hyperion was kissing Donna Troy several times in the previous issue, so it was only like one little kiss, and he says goodbye. But he's quite accepting, of course. Starfire just participates in some gladiatorial, like, some kind of, like, big battle, because she's very, like, a warrioress, and she's a princess. And Raven is on the sideline just watching. And this goes on for a few pages. Then we cut away to, of course, I think Starfire wins the competition. And of course, somehow this laboratory gets attacked. And we cut away to some place in Ugadia, I think that's how you pronounce this place. And of course, yeah, it's Robin, Kid Flash, and Cyborg. They just go out and figure out what's going on. They wander through the jungle, and they run into Robot Man, who has been tied to a wall. Like I said, this, like what happened in the cover. Yeah, that does happen in the comic, and it's the same exact sign. And of course, Cyborg does his best to repair him. Of course, he wakes him up, but he can't move. So basically, he doesn't remember exactly what happened. He's just looking for Dayton. Of course, Cyborg decides to repair his joints. And of course, I think this is supposed to be Beast Boy, who's transformed into this giant beast, and of course, Amazon's attacking him. Of course, he gets knocked out, and then he just, well, actually, some creature similar to that, and of course, he wakes up. Of course, he's on a table. Of course, he can't get off the table because, well, no man touches the ground of Paradise Island. If they do, they lose their powers. And he's like, "You mean I'm stuck up here with all these gorgeous girls just out of arm's reach?" And I would just laugh. It's unfair. What's that wrong with my life? It's just so funny. Yeah, but he's a shapeshifter. He can transform into a bird, so he can get off that table anytime he wants to. So we cut away, and of course they figure out what's going on. And of course they go over to this, and of course they get contacted by I think it's, well, Donna contacts and tells her what's going on with Robot Man. And of course they go, and of course we cut back to where Robot Man and Robin, Kid Flash, and Cyborg are, and they go down to this fortress. And he got some exploring for a bit, and he runs into these two robots, which will play effect in the storyline. And of course he knocks those two out. And of course, I see this underground city, which is building these robots. Trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And then Kid Flash sees Madame Rouge on a television screen. He's like, and Robot Man's like out of control. Like, that's her, the blasted killer. She and Saul murdered the Doom Patrol, and he wants to kill her. Yeah. Just to the content, just a screen. So they decided to go around exploring the place and just figure out where she is. Well, and they find Steve Dayton. Yep, they find Beast Boy's stepfather. Yep, they found that little subplot just wrapped up like that. It only took them like 13 issues to find him. Well, it took them several issues to find him. A few issues to find him, but of course the robots attack. He's very confused, like what's going on. Of course his eyes are glass. He has no idea what's going on. And of course they pick up the robots, which are actually just people wearing the suits. And he says he looks for it, and he wants his mental suit. And then the issue ends with I think you heard us now. And of course we cut away to, of course before we end the issue we see Madame Rouge and General Zal. That is General Zal. This is Madame Rouge. Yep. And we cut away to issue 14. The quest for the killers of Doom Patrol continues. And Beast Boy's like, Bento, don't do this. You're my father. How can you try to murder my best friends? And of course, Rob and the issue opens with Kid Flash singling another Titans jet. I think they must have like several of these things. And of course they land, and of course they get like Beast Boy. Cyborgs have Beast Boys alive. And of course they catch up to speed what's going on. They compare and keep up to date. And of course they says, oh yeah. And of course Beast Boy's happy to see Steve Dayton. And then he decides to he wants his mental costume so badly. So he puts on the costume. Here it is. This is the mental costume that he wore back in the 60s. Well, I think it's maybe a redesign. With his helmet. Of course, he attacks them. And this goes on for a few pages. Everyone's like, oh my, everything is all so confusing. And then he sees, I think, sees a hallucination of his late wife. He's like, Rita, and of course he stopped, and he explains how he got captured, and of course tries to explain. He's gonna explain what happened to him. Says, and of course Madame Rouge like, let's put our plans forward, and they just, and then we cut away to a place called Zilda, and but met someone called Harry de Camp gets attacked by somebody who's speaking in French. Ah, monsieur, it has taken me quite a while to track you down. He's like, Mon Dieu, and of course the guy gets taken out. We'll explain who those guys are later. And of course they make up camp, and of course Dayton explains the whole thing with the Doom Patrol, and of course this guy here, that's Niles Cordair, the Chief. I'll explain more about him later. Basically, he's the founder of Doom Patrol, and of course, on this wonderful page, on this wonderful like 2 pages, he explains the origin of Doom Patrol, like how the members got their powers, like, and of course, they talk about Rita, which was his wife. Yeah, it goes on for 2 pages in their marriage, which happens, I believe, in issue 90. I think maybe issue 100. I don't know. It happened in the 60s. And of course, Robin talks about what happened in the pages of Showcase, where you got this new model look briefly, but Dayton Industries gave back his original look. He didn't like that look very much, so he wanted his original look back. So yeah. So yeah, basically thought he was looking for Madame Rouge, and supposedly he finds Rita alive. Makes out with her, and it turns out, yeah, this Rita, it's not Rita at all, it's Madame Rouge. Yep, it's Madame Rouge. And of course they decided to team up and try to stop them once and for all. And Beast Boy is like very emotional about what happened with Doom Patrol. So he takes himself out, and of course they go out to this, and of course this city decides to fly. And Beast Boy's hanging out for dear life in this city. And of course the Teen Titans and Robot Man basically decided to just go after the city. And of course just prior to this, basically like no major industries, stuff like that. And basically what Madame Rouge does with her floating city, she murders an entire country. Yep. And of course, the Titans do the best they can to help out with what's going on with them. Yep, they do the best they can. And of course, yeah, he's trying to stop this machine, and the jet gets taken down. And then the issue ends, quite possibly, with the best return of a group of villains I have ever seen. Basically, Beast Boy is face to face with the old villains of the Doom Patrol, the Brotherhood of Evil, where we have basically, who were these members? This in the middle, that's Brain. He's the leader of Doom Patrol. Behind him, the guy who's an ape, that's Monsieur Mala. This woman, that's Phobia. Warp. Genshin, and this is Plasma. This is the new this is the new Brotherhood of Evil. And the thing about this group is, generally every single lap, except for the most recent one for the New 52, generally Monsieur Mala and the Brain have been part of them. Okay? It says like, surely says that the Brotherhood of Evil lives again. And we come to my favorite cover. Now, when I first saw the cover online, I'm like, I really want to read this issue. We have Madame Rouge saying, "Ready, aim," and then we have Beast Boy marching. He's like, "Stop! You murdered the Doom Patrol, but we won't let you murder the Titans as well." Awesome cover, best cover of these three. Oh, and they do get trapped in this little thing, but they're not sent to be executed by Madame Rouge. So we open up with the Titans in this globe, and all except Robot Man, they transform into ape, or being sort of devolve into apes, and Robot Man really wants to kill him so badly. And while this is going on, Madame Rouge's Flying City is massacring an entire country. Yep, that's what she's doing. She's massacring an entire country because she's evil. And of course, Beast Boy decides to attack the new Brotherhood. And of course, like, oh yeah, it's yeah, he swears vengeance, like, yeah. First he goes after Plasma, shows off his abilities. And then we show off Warp's abilities. I mean, the whole point of these next few pages just show off all the powers of the current Brotherhood. And of course, ooh, I'm in love. Yeah, he doesn't want to attack a woman, so Phobia, he knows nothing left, but she attacks him. And of course, the final member, Gynophobia. Despite the fact, yeah, he's sort of like this mystic, and he uses technology to attack people. Apparently, he has hands on a lock of Beast Boy's hair. Something to do with the Voodoo Priest, and instead of using a needle, he uses like some kind of mechanical device. So then so basically, Brain explains what happened to him. Like, everyone thought he died, him and Monsieur Mala. Yeah, this is a retcon. So it turns out because they knew they were attacking, so they just went in his room where they flipped over, and of course, they used an explosion. Now, this is taken from the pages of Doom Patrol 121. Which is basically the issue where the Doom Patrol died. Yeah, this kind of explains how they survived that. And they do an introduction of all the members. Warp, Phobia, Genophobia, Hagen, I think his name is, yeah. Okay, now, his name is not Genophobia, it's like Hogan, I think his name is. And of course, Plasmus, who wants his own revenge against General Zod for transforming into what he is. And of course, he makes an agreement because he already knows who Monsieur Mala and the Brain are. And of course, they make an agreement that basically they'll team up with him to take out Madame Rouge and Zal. In exchange, they get to go free at this one time, but they get to capture next time. And yeah, and of course, Madame Rouge's like, happy, yeah, the Titans have fallen. Of course, they're trying to take out Roman. And then she's like, Zal, what's happened here? That bright light. And it's Beast Boy and the Brotherhood. and she's shocked to see Beast Boy. And then she tries to take out Beast Boy, and then her gun gets out of her hand by Monsieur Mallah, and she's shocked to see him alive. And of course, she takes him out. Well, actually, it's one of Zal's soldiers takes him out. And of course, there's a brawl between, and there's a big, humongous fight between the Brotherhood and Madame Rouge and General Zal's soldiers, and they pretty much take them all out. For these next several pages. Yeah, Warp sends some of them to space. I thought that was quite funny, like, fall into space. And of course, like, eventually, General Hogan decides to just take out some things, and of course, Robot Man sort of reconfigures Cyborg's like arm, and of course, they fire something and they blast thing, and of course, like, oh no. Like, the gas has been destroyed, and of course the Titans are all fine and taking orders from telling them to charge by Robot Man. And of course, Raven goes after, basically goes to see Monsieur Mallah, tries to heal him, and he does, and in order to thank him, and he thanks her by basically getting her behind her, basically while he takes out some soldiers. I mean, he wants to protect her, basically, because he just saved her life. He wanted to return the favor by protecting her. Okay, that's fine. Despite the fact, yeah, she doesn't like it very much, and because he's a killer. He's like, yeah, I kill because I have to. Yep. So, yeah, fight, and of course, Cyborgs are almost about to fall off, and of course, he gets back on, and it says, I'm a creature of instinct. And of course, you got a hand spraying, and of course, big humongous fight scene, and everybody's fighting him, of course, and here comes my favorite lines, basically, from Robot Man. Zal, you stinking, filthy butcher. You killed the Doom Patrol. You murdered my friends while giving them a chance. Yeah, that's what he says. And he goes after him. And what does Beast Boy do? He goes after Madame Rouge. Someone's like, Madame Rouge, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you, Madame Rouge. Yeah, it's like, yeah, here's Beast Boy being you have an angry Beast Boy saying this, and here's his line where he says to Madame Rouge, you killed the chief, you kill Lair and blast you, you rogue, you killed my mother. That's what he says. And she says, and he will kill me, nothing will stop him. Of course, he's on a rage. And of course, we have Zal dying while he's trying to shoot Robot Man with a gun. And of course, because the bullets deflect off him, basically in the way, Zal killed himself. Yep. And of course, Zal dies, and his last words are, Heil Hitler! And he dies. And of course, it's like, Beast Boy's like, I'm gonna get you, Madame Rouge. I'm gonna get you, Madame Rouge. Yeah, that's what it seems like. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. And he basically goes stir crazy. And of course, he inadvertently kills her. And he's not happy with it, despite the fact he's wanted vengeance against her for years. And of course, because, well, yeah, he's already taking revenge against her. It's like, yeah, his mother's still dead, and best doing much with her. Brain. He says, Brain, what are you doing here? Shifting the island, Logan. I want Zelda safe for my own reasons, my own. And you, little one, you have done Brain left. You have been Trusbin. I have left us, Rose. He left us, her Rose breathed last. But we must save our allies now. Alert them now. And of course, he tells them what's going on. And of course, they all get away thanks to Warp. And of course, this island city destroyed. And despite the fact Robin wants to see them all arrested, and of course, he allows them to go. He lets them go for now, but he will capture them later. And of course, says he served the Brotherhood well. And of course, he's not happy he killed somebody, but he wanted to kill him for some time. And of course, Dayton shows up, late as usual. There's a reunion, sort of a minor Doom Patrol reunion here between Robot Man, Mental, and Beast Boy. Yeah, it's a nice slow ending to this little story. And of course, the issue ends with basically Robot Man, Beast Boy, Mento, Memory, Elastigirl, the Chief, and Mr. Negative. Alright, that's it for those 3 issues. These 3 issues are really freaking awesome. Awesome issues. Highly recommend these issues. Basically, people who don't know who Doom Patrol is, these 3 issues explain who they are very well. And DC did collect their early Avengers from the 60s into about 6 books. 2 showcase books and 4 DC archive books. Now, their series only lasted 36 issues back in the 60s. And Arnold Drake is one of the creators. He had this, and of course the guy was kind of paranoid because sometimes because the X-Men were copying stuff that he was doing, like the Brotherhood of Evil, and of course Stan Lee inventing something similar to Brotherhood of Immunes and stuff like that. And of course the X-Men were quite similar to the Doom Patrol, despite the fact that the X-Men made a debut 1 month after the Doom Patrol did. Yeah, Arnold Drake was so crazy. He was convinced that Stan Lee had spies in DC offices back in the 60s. Yeah, he was that freaking paranoid. But yeah, he ended up writing the X-Men back. He ended up writing the X-Men in the late 60s, right after Doom Patrol was canceled. My guess is the reason why he decided to end at a particular point. Couple reasons. I don't think because of low sales. I think because of low sales, but he wanted to end it basically in a dramatic fashion, having most Doom Patrol die along with a couple of their enemies. But thanks to some retcons, yeah, basically, Robot was retconned to be alive, thanks to 3-part appearance and showcase, which I haven't read like fully yet. And of course, the Chief apparently survives, Negative Man. Yeah, and it's also revealed during Grant Morrison when the Chief was responsible for transforming Doom Patrol the way they are. Yeah. I haven't fully read Doom Patrol Volume 2 yet. I've only read like 1 issue, but I really want to read it. But don't spoil for me in the comments below what happens in the volume. I'm going to read it when I get to it. But, yeah, the whole point of this issue, just to do a follow-up what happened back with Doom Patrol. At this point in time, it's only been probably, I'd say, probably about 12, 13 years tops since the end of the Doom Patrol series back in the 60s. Of course, after this 3-parter, the Doom Patrol did come back a few years later, anyways. Yeah, for their own ongoing series. And quite possibly, this was by far the one that was most successful, lasting about 87 issues. Yeah, lasting a little over 7 years, which got handsome. And they had a few revivals in 2000s, but some of them were good, some were just not that successful. Of course, John Byrne has his own retcons. Now, of the Doom Patrol, despite all the retcons, Elastigirl did die in issue 121, and she was dead for many years until the Chief basically kind of cloned her and put some mechanical stuff in her, and sort of resurrected her that way in Doom Patrol Volume 5, which is written by Keith Giffen. Awesome volume, I highly recommend it. But the only thing bad about that volume, there's only like 2 trades ever released for this 22 issue volume. Why? Because the 3rd volume was canceled due to low pre-order sales, and from what I've saw from it, it was only going to contain issues 15 and 21. And I'm like, really? The series is going to cancel issue 22. Why can't you just squeeze the last issue in there? I don't have any idea. But the Doom Patrol was an awesome series, and I'm glad the fact DC's bringing it back, the Doom Patrol, this coming September. And they're keeping Robot Man there. Thank you for keeping Robot Man. Despite the fact they don't have the rest of Doom Patrol there, but I'm happy they're keeping Robot Man because here's the thing. If you notice, for a lot of the volumes for Doom Patrol, Robot Man is generally in every single volume. And reading the original volume in the showcase books, it was just awesome stories to read. And seeing like the first appearance of Beast Boy and of course Mento and the rest of Doom Patrol and of course Brotherhood, awesome stories. Highly recommend them. And of course, highly recommend the stories in here as well. They do count as part of the Spotlight stuff for the Doom Patrol prior to start of their new ongoing series, which was launched a few years after this. Okay, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which I'm going to cover issues 16 to 18. And that'll be episode number 8. This was episode 7. Okay? So, until then, see you there. Bye.